On April 26th, 25 years ago, 2 people were killed in a series of explosions in Ukraine. The reason the whole world still remembers it today is this was Chernobyl. We now know it was the world's worst nuclear accident. Operating errors and design flaws were blamed, as well as the 2 victims of the explosions. 28 others died of radiation exposure in the following month, and tens of thousands of people were forced to abandon their homes. CNN's senior international correspondent Matthew Chance joins us now from Moscow with more on the remembrances. Matthew.
Monita, thanks very much. Well, over the past couple of days, of course, across the region affected by that nuclear fallout 25 years ago, there have been church ceremonies and memorial services held for the victims of the Chernobyl disaster 25 years ago, but also for the survivors as well. We've had workers who helped in cleaning up the operation, given awards particularly by the Russian president, in Ukraine as well, where this anniversary is being marked. Of course, back in 1986, it was all part of the big Soviet Union. Today, though, the commemorations are being focused on Ukraine at the Chernobyl site. Already, Viktor Yanukovych, the Ukrainian president, has been visiting Chernobyl reactor number 4, the site of the world's worst nuclear accident. He's been accompanied by his Russian counterpart, Dmitry Medvedev. They've attended a church service nearby to the reactor given by Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church. And of course, tributes have been coming in from around the world. It all comes, of course, this anniversary, as renewed concerns are made about the future of nuclear power, as Japanese nuclear workers continue to struggle to bring the nuclear plant at Fukushima under control as well. And so it's again brought focus, Fukushima has, on a question that was first raised in Chernobyl 25 years ago. Is nuclear power actually safe, or is the price that the world pays to benefit from nuclear power really worth paying? And so those are questions that are again being asked now, 25 years after that worst nuclear disaster in Chernobyl, Monita.
Yeah, Matthew, just adding on to that, well, those questions are being raised. Are the debates taking place at the higher levels of government in terms of the pros and cons of nuclear facilities?
Well, there is obviously a debate taking place, and in countries like Germany, for instance, there's a growing tide of public opinion that the country shouldn't have nuclear power. But I think in poorer countries, developing countries, they've become so dependent on nuclear energy that there's really nothing there to replace it. It would mean refocusing energy supplies on fossil fuels, on gas, on oil, which is very, very costly. And so nuclear power does provide a cheap alternative, at least in the short and medium term, for countries that have big energy needs and that are developing. And so the expectation is that it will continue to be extremely popular in countries like that, in countries like China, for instance, and India, and also in the former Soviet Union. But what there is now, particularly after Fukushima, in Japan, are renewed calls for the international nuclear energy regime to be tightened, for international standards to be proposed and to be enforced, perhaps by the UN's nuclear agency, the UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, to try and mitigate disasters like Chernobyl and disasters like Fukushima from happening again. Monita.
Matthew Chance in Moscow, thank you.